to whole lots of people in whole lots of ways. I thought I'd kind of like flow a little bit on my feelings about pagan disagreements, right? We, when I was first kind of seeing this paganism thing, right? We got the Europeans and, the Americans, right? So being an American who was looking to have that deeper, meaningful connection, but not knowing my ancestry in a meaningful way, you don't have much to work with. And so you explore something that makes sense from the universal mindset that you're kind of brought up in America, where you're looking for, you came out of one world of a single truth, and you said to yourself, well, that single truth universe, they would have me believe, you can turn around and it sort of makes sense even though it never makes sense. And so there's got to be a thing, right? And so you're looking at it, and that's where, New Age. New Age was coming out of that, and our culture wasn't ready to put masculinity back on the map because we had destroyed so much in the manner of which we raise men of good character, myself included, unfortunately, for a long time. Right? I'm a person beating myself out of my foolishness, of my disrespectfulness and all sorts of things where I would not, it's that Loki-esque quality that some of us have that we have to purge out of us, like the why the hell did you do that kind of thing. I had a lot of that going on with the way that my mind works. This is why I was talking about the argument of autism in myself, right? I care not to be diagnosed with it, because what I already know, assuming that there was nothing diagnosable with me, is that over time, I had to figure it out on my own. And I figured it out on my own in a way where I could probably fucking counsel young people. But I don't think a world should exist that counsels young people. But young people do need counseling, right? And then it becomes a question of making sure that you're operating as an Asclepian healer and not a mercurial merchant. That's the key when you get into fields like that. Are you here to make the situation better? Or are you here to take more out of my pocket, right? Because, you're doing very personal client-to-client shit. Whether there's a lot of insurance involved or not. So anyway, what's my point? European pagans have a European education. They're right there. There's going to be a tremendous amount of authority to be found. I'm not saying that they all have authority in what they say, but It's all about context, you know, um, because there are more subtle examples of manipulation than merely what you see in wokeism and trying to tie uh, the agenda into the interpretation of the antiquities. And some pagans do not are they may not be atheists, but they would believe that because you're not taking the mythos literally, it also means that you, to be a serious person, you have to believe in the scientific consensus, and not to say that undoing what the wrong aspect of a consensus brings us back to some of those awful times. Hey, what's up, Slick? That it brings us back to some of those awful times, but just that that we reevaluate. We find a certain point where the argument is compromised, and we reevaluate. It's like the only thing that happens is that your attitude about a relationship to a thing changes. There's nothing else going on, but you see that attitude in relationship to a thing, i.e., you know, Big Bang Theory, evolutionary science is understood, so on and so forth. Oh, look at that. It's like the 80s again. There's 4 kids fucking around on their bicycles. Did we see them? No, you didn't see them. You might have saw one head go whoosh. But anyway. So this gets back to, I think the argument was, are you an eclectic pagan or a traditionalist pagan, right? And you know, then the Libra side of my mind gets irate about the question. Then I am just like, well, hold on a second. Being a traditional pagan is highly biased to your inherent filters. Because we see in history all the time the curation of facts and the curation of researchers, right? You know, outside of paganism, we can talk about how they poo-pooed Velikovsky, right? It's just like, it's fine if some of his theories are wrong, but you didn't fucking poo-poo Velikovsky because you thought his theories were wrong. You didn't have a good argument for his theories, which meant his theories needed to stand to continue to be tested seriously in conversation. But because it left us with uncomfortable feelings about the nature of the existential forces beyond our reach, we left it better unsaid, because fearmongers are more interested in exploiting it than the kind of optimists that you get in another respect, right? It is a little bit of a crime, right? Science wise, with the new Fantastic Four, right? It's just like, it was a fine movie. There's nothing. if that movie came out around the same time Black Panther came out, they would have been seen as diametrically equal, right? Because people didn't think Black Panther was that great either, but it did did well, right? It's just like, I suppose the film maybe didn't do well in the box office or whatever. People saw like if they didn't do the female Silver Surfer, they probably would have made more money, right? Because it was a risk. I had to hear the critical drinker make his spoiler-free reaction of it before even I was gonna go see it. That's how much I was willing to let it go. Like the way I let Star Wars go after the fucking Last Jedi. Happy Leo Bear Day, Heathen. Leo, well, that's funny, even though we're in Virgo now. Although in Sidereal, we're probably still in Leo, right? So I suppose that works from a sidereal perspective. Um, so, we have to make sure that when we are going against a traditionalist pagan idea, that we're acknowledging it and talking about why we are bridging certain gaps. Because, you got to be able to say, okay, here's X, Y, and Z understandings that they say about this, right? Right? It's just just look at the language thing forever. Everybody is catching on now. Nobody argues with anybody anymore that there was a grift on that prefix for Val, right? So, it goes from from that of choice to that of the slain, but only in the context of Valkyries and Valhalla. And anything revolving around Odin's halls and stuff like that, all the Vals get the slainness. But everything about Val outside of that mythos is used for the word of choosing, choosing, evaluation and such, right? Same thing, right? So traditionalists have to, realize, I was honest collective mistake about this traditional value, right? Because you would look like the eclectic pagan if you didn't know that. And somebody who knew it better was doing it better already. And then you find out you're wrong, and then the mirror gets turned on you, and you feel like an eclectic this one time, right? And it's just like, okay, look, I gotta give a little bit of room for eclectic arguing, right? Some people don't want to be that way because, they want the institution of it, right? So there's going to be a lot of good work in the institutions of Europe showing us our ancestors. And this, especially because there's a lot of people in the culture who are, for that, care about that. So anyway, but amongst the eclectics, you got to find the ones that aren't cringy and the ones that are doing the real work. I like to think that I'm doing the real work, and I don't consider myself an eclectic because I only do what is eclectic where my prior knowledge gives me a something bigger than just understanding paganism. But I certainly want to make sure that I know my shit. All right. Yeah, right, right. Yeah, yeah. Silver Surfer is also SS, obviously. Anyway, I'll catch you later.